Sydney May, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm all right. I appreciate you
Good.
coming on today.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure.
Excellent, excellent. Let me give the audience a brief introduction for you so they can get a little bit of understanding of who you are before we get into the full conversation.
Absolutely.
You are a professional ballerina with 7+ years of professional experience performing lead roles and pursuing dance from an early childhood. You are a Booker T. Washington High School for the Performing Arts and Visual Arts alum in Dallas, Texas, where exposure to diversity and elite training shaped your artistry. Resilient creative, overcoming injury, anxiety, and self doubt to find strength and self belief and career breakthroughs. You're a dedicated teacher and mentor, where you guide young dancers at the University of Utah's Summer Intensive and beyond. Community driven artist, thriving through collaboration, connection, and the power of creative communities.
Sounds about right.
Excellent, excellent. So, like I mentioned, I don't have a whole lot of structure other than my very first question.
hmm
And it takes us all the way back in time to where were you born and what was life like as a kid?
Okay. I was born in Summit, New Jersey, and we moved around a ton when I was a kid, moving around with my dad's job. He worked in the plastic business, which is not, great for the environment now, but but he worked for Sportscraft, which was a sports company, and then he worked for Heritage Bag down in Dallas. So we moved around a lot. We even lived in Japan for a second when I was like 6 months old. I don't remember it at all,
Okay.
but we really did bounce around a ton. We landed in Dallas when I was like, I guess I was 7.
Okay.
So Dallas definitely feels like my home, and I came back after college due to COVID, and then thankfully was able to get a job here as a dancer. But life as a child was great. I mean, I think I had a really happy childhood. I was blessed with really, really incredible parents. And so I definitely feel like I had, at least for the first, 10, 12 years of my life, a very magical childhood. Um, Lots of fun, lots of family. Our extended family's wonderful, and we would always go visit them on holidays. Dancing from a young age, but I don't think I got serious about it until I was 9, which is a funny thing to say because, 9-year-olds aren't very serious, but I was. At 9, I think I was kind of introduced to the concept of advanced dancing because I had already seen the Nutcracker a bunch, but I don't think my brain like registered that what I was doing in my little tutu was like what they were doing.
Yeah.
But when I was 7, we moved here and I went to a ballet studio called City Ballet. And I was able to watch the older girls. And every time, like if I was in my class and then I missed a day, I could make up a class with pretty much any level that I wanted just to get my perfect attendance back.
Okay.
And so when I would make up classes, I would see the older girls or I would see younger girls and either be like, wow, I've grown a lot, or whoa, I have a long ways to go. And I think one day I ended up going into a class and the girls had point shoes on. And I was like, what is that? I was so excited. And so anyway, from there, I basically told my mom, I was like, I really want to do point. And at the time, I had been getting a lot of feedback from my teacher that I was doing well in my class, and it kind of felt like I was at the top of my group. And so my mom, unbeknownst to me, I did not know that she did this, but she went into the studio. It was a very small studio and talked to Evelyn, who was like my mentor and my teacher at the time. And she was like, look, like, I don't know what the deal is. I'm not a dance mom. I don't know what this stuff is, but Sydney really wants to do point. Like, let us know what she needs to do to get there. And then I think it was like the next week or something, she brought me in and like had me try on a pair of shoes. And I guess I passed the test for whatever reason. And she put me in point for the first time at 9, which I think is a little too early, but doesn't matter. And it was just kind of everything else from there just kind of tumbled like dominoes. I was obsessed, bit by the bug to say the least. My studies at that point, I guess I was in 5th grade at that time. And I think I just got more and more serious about it. I had eventually like stopped doing everything else. Like in my household, we like had to play an instrument when we were growing up because my mom was so adamant that that was going to help our brain development, which is so true, so valid, so lovely. I played the cello and the piano. And I tried all the sports because my mom was a sports lady. Not like a sports lady, but she played sports growing up. And my dad
Okay.
also did sports growing up. So it was like, okay, like let's try all the sports. And I did not take very well to them. I did them more as like a social project.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually I think it was probably fifth or sixth grade. I was kind of allowed to cancel everything else out and just focus on ballet. Because it got more and more clear to my parents how serious I was about it and how much I loved it. So that was kind of how dance became more of a main character. And then when I was 14, well, actually, no, I'll go back. When I was 13, I got into Booker T, which was like the best thing that ever happened to me. It's a wonderful high school of the performing and visual arts in Dallas, and it completely changed my life. And so that was about 13, and that was the next 4 years. And my father passed away my sophomore year of high school. Um,
Hmm.
so that was kind of another turning point in where I was at mentally. And of course, that translates into every part of your life. So I think there's definitely like a hard before and after at that point.
Okay. Let's back up just a little bit
Totally.
to um, traveling around and then getting to Dallas at
Hmm.
roughly 7.
Yeah,
You said your mom was an athlete. What type of
kind of.
sports? What type of sports is she into?
I think she played basketball back in the day. She wasn't like serious about it. She didn't do it in college
Okay,
or anything.
gotcha.
But she was athletic in her youth, and I think she just kind of expected us to do the same thing.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, but yeah, neither of my parents did like sports, not like hardcore sports, but
Yeah,
just like they both grew up in Illinois, um, over in like the suburbs. That's where they met a while
okay.
back. But yeah, so nothing crazy with sports for my mom, but
So Midwestern roots for the
yes.
family. Okay.
Hmm.
With deciding to put you into dance, was that just kind of going down the line of opportunities of things that you could try out, or was
I
there?
think so.
Okay.
No, I mean my mom when she loves to talk about like when she like brings friends to my shows or whatever, she's like, "Oh, you just put girls in ballet when they're young." So it's like I think it was pretty willy-nilly at the time, but it's true. I mean, kind of the stereotypical thing for little girls to do is ballet and it ended up sticking. Um
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't think there was too much intention there at the beginning, but there was certainly more and more intention as we went along.
Okay. How was elementary school for you? Were you one of the students that was kind of engaged with everything, or were
Mm.
you the type that was a little bit more reserved, wanted to kind of sit back in the corner, not really be noticed a whole lot or called upon?
Interesting. It's funny. I really don't think about my little self that often, but I should. I think I was pretty outgoing as a kid. My mom likes to tell stories of when I would like I had a friend named Beth way back in the day, like second grade. And she would get picked on by people and I would like stand up for her and be like, "What are you doing to my friend?" So I think that I think I had ebbs and flows of that, but I was very social as a kid. I don't think my anxiety kicked in until we moved to Texas.
Okay.
Um, and that was, I'm 7 turning 8 at that point, and I think that that's kind of where it's third grade. And I think that was when I kind of started like looking around and being like, oh, people are like different than me. Like this is kind of a new environment.
Yeah.
And then I think at that point I was still like outgoing, but I was very aware of myself, maybe a little too self-conscious.
Sure.
And I think that's when I started comparing myself to others and being a little more like my like go-to question was, "Are you mad at me?" Like I just kind of always assumed that someone was upset with me.
Hmm.
Um, but that didn't happen until Texas. So I don't know if that was because we moved around a ton.
Yeah.
I think I was born in New Jersey, then we went to Japan, then back to New Jersey, then we lived in Maryland for a few years, back to New
Okay.
Jersey one more time, and then we were in Chicago for like 6 months, and then we moved to Texas, I think.
Yeah.
So a lot of bouncing around. So I wouldn't blame it on the move necessarily, but maybe it was just like the new culture of Texas.
Yes. East Coast versus Texas, the state, is
Yeah.
definitely a transition into a whole different cultural uh, way of living, um,
Yes.
way of speaking, way of pace. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's a little bit slower pace in Texas versus the East Coast is constantly busy.
Mm.
Even Midwestern states is a little bit more busier
Hmm.
than Texas as a whole. Do do you remember being interested in any other create? Well, you mentioned music, but were
Hmm.
there any other like artistic things that you were interested in? Drawing, writing.
Yeah, yeah. My dad was an artist actually. He did
Okay,
industrial design in
nice.
college, and he was like he could do anything. Like he built
Okay,
us a playroom, built us shelves and everything. So I think we would like he would like be really drawing and I would like doodle with him. And I
yeah,
definitely think like in middle school, probably not in elementary school, but in middle school, I noticed that I was like art class was easy for me. Like I could like complete the assignments and they didn't look terrible. So I do think I have like a lot of my, artistic tendencies I think come from my dad's side.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I like drawing. I like drawing. I love music. I never really got into acting,
Okay,
but I think that I kind of have a little part of me in every other like realm. I have like the visual art. I do enjoy that a lot. I love music. I don't really make music, but I do love music so much.
right.
Um, and then dancing, of course. But yeah, I consider myself pretty I love the arts. Who doesn't?
All around. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I can relate to your dad a little bit in the sense that all my family is from East Tennessee,
Okay.
both sides. So
Mm-hmm.
I got a little bit of that Southern culture
Mm-hmm.
inbred into me. But my mom's sister was an industrial engineer.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
so I understand what that mindset is a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she worked for Levi's for a while,
Cool.
um, and then went on to work with Le Sport Stack.
Oh,
Um,
cool. Very cool.
so yeah, that technical mindset and influence as you're growing up is a little bit. Um, it's a little bit more structured in
Mm-hmm.
terms of information that you get from them.
Sure.
I, I remember as a kid when I'd be down there on vacation or whatever and drawing, she would always look at my drawings and she would remind me, she goes, remember what you're creating, that potentially somewhere down the line somebody might have to make that for you.
Mm.
So you got to think of it from a process standpoint in terms of if it's a product that you're creating,
Mm-hmm.
make sure that it isn't overcomplicated
Mm-hmm.
to be able to train somebody to put it together.
Mm. I see what you're saying.
So it's interesting, the mindset of an industrial engineer, and having those thought processes of, okay, this this creative thing, this beautiful thing can be made, but it's got to go through processes to get made.
Totally.
So you always got to be conscious of somebody else is going to have to build this
Mm-hmm.
that I'm designing.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So
Yeah,
interesting. I don't think I got that necessarily from my dad, but I definitely, like when we would have school projects or anything like that, he would help us with it. So I think I just got a lot of I view it now as like problem solving,
yes,
like a lot
yes,
of those like cause and effect things or like, if you want it to look like this, like what do you need to do?
yeah.
Um, so yeah, no, I totally get that. That's cool. That's really cool.
When you started going to school in Texas in
Hmm.
elementary, you already mentioned that you're starting to question, whether somebody is angry with you potentially
Hmm.
by the way that they're responding. I'm guessing,
Hmm.
and also too, you're starting to look at, I would imagine, a bit more diversity um, there, or no?
Yeah, not actually, not yet. Not yet.
Okay.
I think honestly, we went to private school in Texas
Oh,
from,
okay.
I went to private school from third to eighth grade. So as you can imagine, that was a predominantly white space.
Yeah.
Um, but when I got more introduced to diversity was really through Booker T and college as well. But I
Got you.
think what I noticed the most was like everybody was already friends.
Yes.
because the school had it was a pre-K through fourth grade school, and I was coming in at third grade. So I was like already at the end.
Yeah.
Um, and everybody was dressed differently, and so I think those were where those were coming in.
Was it a private Christian school or just a private prep school?
It was, I don't even know what they're called. It's like what are those called? The cute schools, like like when you're little and they're like not quite normal. I can't really remember, but it was not a Christian school until I got to fifth grade. Fifth grade, it was a Christian school, but we didn't grow up religious in my family, so it was just like a private school that happened to be Christian.
Yeah.
But my third and fourth grade school is like it is such an amazing place. We had like a farm on campus, and like the kids would
Okay.
learn to like collect the eggs and stuff. And like we had these things called wells in every classroom, and they were really just like stair stepped, carpeted things, so we could all sit and see the teacher at the same time.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was just like a cute special thing. And I went back when I was about to graduate high school because we had like a reunion, and like everything was tiny. So like they make you feel big as a kid. It was crazy. I was like, wow, like these people are so smart. So it was a really special school, but I don't know how to describe it, I guess. Other than that, it was really special.
No, for sure. It
Yeah,
was an environment that was trying to focus a little bit more on the kids.
so
Uh,
much. So
okay.
much so. Yes.
Nice. Having to switch again into another school, going to the other private school,
Hmm.
did that kind of enhance the anxiety a bit more as well? Did you have to meet new people, or were there some
Hmm.
of those people you already knew translating in?
A little bit of both, a little bit of both, because since that school ended at fourth grade, everyone had to just like disperse. So
Right.
I was grateful to keep a few of my friends. But yeah, I definitely think meeting so many new people, and then that was when like I had to start wearing a uniform, which I like didn't think a lot about, but I do think that was like a weird thing for me looking back on it. But yeah, I met a lot of different people, and our grade was at my first school, it was pretty small. Like I think my whole class was like 40 people, maybe 30. And then going to the other school, it was closer to 100 people. So it was like a lot of new faces. Like you could kind of feel the cliques of people, the different groupings. And of course, the new people, there were a lot of new people coming into fifth grade because in Dallas, fifth grade is middle school. So it's like
Okay.
up till fourth grade is elementary, then fifth through eighth is middle school. So a lot of people kind of bip bop around when those big landmarks change, like middle school or high school. So there were a decent amount of new people, so I didn't feel alienated per se, but it was definitely like a big shift. But I do think like I'm very academically inclined, so I really enjoyed the structure of the school. I think it was nice to like I got like my very first binder and like a planner that I had to write my homework down in. So like that was really exciting for me. But I definitely think socially it got more challenging because like girls start to get a little meaner in middle school and stuff like that.
Yeah. I went to a private Christian school from fourth grade through 12th grade.
Okay, it's a long
Um,
time.
yeah. I
Hmm.
had uh, public school up to third, and then my parents put me in private school at fourth grade just because of at the time it was the church's school that they
Hmm.
were taking us to.
Hmm.
Hated the uniforms. Oh my gosh, I hated the uniforms.
I know, kind of the worst. Kind of the
Right, yeah,
worst.
especially for a creative mind who,
Hmm.
and even at that age, I was very fascinated by fashion. So
Mm,
having to wear the same thing every day was just ah, horrible.
yeah. And then I realized, like, outside of that, like, once I left and went to Booker T, I didn't know how to dress myself. I was like, I don't even know what to wear. What do I even like? Like, I had no idea. So, I don't know. I wish that I had had a little more freedom in those days, I think. Just, I was fine. But just looking back, it's just funny to think, like, I literally went into freshman year being like, what do I wear?"
Right, right,
Yeah.
exactly. Were there teachers within that school that were starting to recognize maybe something about you that they wanted to help nourish and allow you to excel at or encourage you to excel at?
Which school?
The middle school.
The middle school. Yeah, I mean, I think I had a lot of really supportive teachers there. I think again because I was so like kind of type A academic, I don't think any teacher disliked me necessarily. I definitely felt supported. The classes were pretty small, private school. Um, but yeah, I don't know if any teacher specifically like really I don't want to say that and then be wrong about it. But I can't like even like my first instinct is to be like, no, like it was just kind of whatever. But
Yeah,
I think being at my dance studio at the time, my teacher at my dance studio really saw something in me and really pushed me and believed in me. Like she was the reason I got on point in the first place, was she, gave me a chance.
yeah,
Um, so I think she was probably the most influential teacher and mentor that I had growing up. Um,
okay,
and definitely it was because of that studio that I figured out what Booker T even was. So I think I would say that my dance environment was more positively
influential.
impactful.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
okay. When you would go from school to your dance class, was it a
hmm
little bit more um, relaxing for you to be in that dance environment?
Yeah. I think that it was a small studio. I mean, so it was like, I think we had, for a while, we only had one studio. Then we got a second one. We like bought the building next door or whatever. And so like I knew everybody. If I got there early, I would like sit in the office and do my homework. So it was very like it felt very safe. And I don't think I realized that I was doing well for a while, but I think because I was doing well, it like was a safe, easy, and like I was getting positive feedback without really knowing why. So it just felt like a really happy place to be.
Right.
Um and yeah, I mean dance is so special because it's such a physical and social like I mean, art is always about the people. Like it's always a social thing, even if you're doing it alone. And like dance is very like selfish, kind
Okay.
of. Like, we're all in a room together, but we're all trying to be better. Like we're all trying to get better. We're trying to get good parts. We're trying to improve ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's like even though it's like a selfish thing, it's so like I can't even tell you. It's so impossible to explain the bond you create with people that you're dancing with.
Yeah.
It's unlike anything I've ever experienced because even like the people that I dance with in college, like we might not even talk anymore, but I feel like we're family because of how much just pure time and common goal we shared for four
Right.
years. So yeah, anyway, all that I just go on tangents, but I do think that yes, my dance space was a safe and calming place for me.
Nice. That's an interesting dynamic in terms of the fact that when you're in the school, right, you're kind of in this environment where you have to go to the class, you have to sit, you have to do the tasks in the class. But being in dance, it's similar. I would akin it to another sport, and
hmm
it's probably a little bit more artistic than a lot of particular sports. But the way I'm seeing it is that it's an environment where you're having to be physical.
hmm
And so that physicality allows you to burn off some of that anxiety to an
hmm
extent.
hmm
And I have an understanding of ballet as being, or can be, rather, maybe not your experience, but it can be a very demanding uh, thing to take on.
Yeah, that definitely came later.
Okay. So where I was going with that is that the ability to physically exert some of that anxiety off, I imagine, eliminated some of that stressor
hmm
that was there.
For a
Um,
time. Yeah.
yeah, because we know that especially from a mental health standpoint, we're looking at different things of people who are not physical or moving physically in a maybe a depressed or anxious state
Mm.
versus somebody who's able to move and do physical things. There's a change in endorphins that stimulate the mind in a way to kind of
Right.
quiet some of that.
Definitely. And I definitely wasn't conscious of that. And I don't even think I was really conscious of my anxiety. Only looking back did I realize what it was. I think I just kind of always thought that there was something wrong with me. Like I was like, why do I care so much? Like nobody else seems to care this much.
Right.
But it definitely did provide a safe place and a place to reach for something more than just like a good grade, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Would you view your looking back? Would you view yourself as being an achiever
Oh
then?
yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Perfectionist, overachiever, people pleaser, you name it. I've got it.
Got you. Okay. Did you have any siblings?
I have one. Yes, a little
One.
sister. She's not so little, but she's 25 now. Yeah.
Okay. So
Mhm.
so you're the first,
Yes.
which plays into that as well.
Eldest daughter complex.
Yes, very much.
hmm
All right. How was it having her um, kind of trailing behind you in the things that you were doing as well? Was there a sense of wanting to bring her along, or was there a sense of, oh, she's bugging the heck out of me? Can you just
It
go into
was yeah. We live together now. And we're best friends, but we could not be more different. And it's always been that way. My
yeah,
mom always talks about that I was kind of like the cerebral kid, like not I would like read and stuff, and Bailey was the kinetic kid. Like she would just move all the time, which is hilarious because now she's an office person and I dance all the time. So it's like, you know. But yeah, we were so different, and I think that it took us a while to figure out that we weren't like we would fight a lot growing up, like just like silly little sister stuff. Because we're only 23 months apart, like we're like less than 2 years
okay,
apart.
yeah,
Um, so I think we never did the same stuff. Um, so we weren't ever really competing with each other except for in school. I think I was better in school for a while because she has a lot of test anxiety or used to back in the day.
yeah,
Um, so I think that was the only moment where we were like, what the heck? Like, why are you doing better than me? Or like whatever. But we never really competed, I wouldn't say. Um,
okay,
but yeah, we are very different people and it only serves to better our relationship now. It's like a yin and yang complex. We balance each other out. But
right,
um yeah, so I think we were pretty separate in our activities.
got you. And
hmm
was your mom kind of a stay-at-home mom at,
Yeah.
based on your dad's job?
Yeah, my dad was, doing the corporate thing, and so my mom was like full time doing everything, the hero of the house for
Yeah,
sure.
okay. Taking you to dance classes, all the
Oh
other sports,
yeah.
and all that
Oh
kind of
yeah.
stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. Um, when when your dad did your dad pass before you went to Booker T or after?
He passed my sophomore year at Booker T. So
Sophomore. Okay.
September of my sophomore year.
All right. So looking at the opportunity to go to Booker T,
hmm
um, was that more so some of your dance teachers kind of saying, "Hey, she's really good at this. We think you should take a look at this," or did your parents
I
have an idea of it beforehand?
Yeah, I met a girl at my studio who I thought was the coolest person I had ever met in my entire life.
Okay.
And she went to Booker T. And so I went home and I was like, Mom, I want to go to Booker T. And I think I was in eighth grade at that point. So it was maybe seventh grade. So it was like, okay, you're going to audition next year. And I think my mom was only hesitant because she was worried about how the academics would be because it was an art school. She was like, well, if it's so artsy, like, are you going to get good academic preparation? And I was like, yeah, it's fine, like, whatever. So, she did her research and she talked to people. And my dad was all for it. He was such an artsy mind. Like, he hated school growing up because he only wanted to do things that he wanted to do. He didn't want to do any of that.
Yeah.
So he was like, God, if I had only had a place like that growing up. So he was all for it. And my mom got on board too. And it's an amazing place. Like if you like we went on a tour and my parents were like, oh my God, like it's incredible. Huge
Yeah.
dance studios, huge vocal studios, like just anything that you could want as a young artist. So yeah, it wasn't hard to get them on board when it came down to it because I had been really serious about dance for 4 years at that point.
Okay.
hmm
And you said you had to audition to get in. How
Yeah.
how was that experience?
It was fun. I mean, so let's see. The audition was in January, I think. I think. Doesn't really matter, I guess. But it was in the winter. And you had to prepare a solo. you had to, I think you had to take part of a dance class. You had to have an interview and you had to improv, I think. So it was kind of a full experience. They wanted to make sure that, you were a good fit, that they could give you what you needed based on what you wanted, that your vibes were okay.
Right.
And then yeah, we did. I think they gave us a dance class so they could see how we reacted to instruction. And then we performed a solo that we had prepared. My director Evelyn prepared mine for me, and that was the first time I had had like a real solo, so it was really cool.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I was so nervous. I was so nervous because it's like, I'm still small. I'm like, 12, I think. And so you're walking into this huge building. And when you go in, like there's high schoolers around and you're like, oh my God, like
Right.
you're so cool. I want to be cool like you. So I was super nervous, but it ended up all right. And I heard back in March. And then that was it. I was like, I'm done with private school. This is over. Like I can leave. Because I didn't feel very I didn't love my classmates by that point. I had my pot of friends. I was happy and I had my people, but I was like, these are not my people. Like the other
Yeah.
people are not my people. So,
Right.
yeah, it was cool. It was
And
cool.
so when you got to go there, um, did they, I'm assuming you got to go in the fall.
Hmm.
Yes.
Hmm.
Okay. Um, did they have you set up in just dance, or did they have you set up in some additional creative uh, classes as well, along with that?
Yeah, so at the time, I'm not really sure. I think things are a little bit different now, but at the time you were separated by what they would call a cluster. So I was in the dance cluster, there was a music cluster, a visual arts cluster, and a theater cluster.
Right.
So my normal day was I would have dance in the morning and academics in the afternoon as a freshman.
Okay.
Is that true? Maybe it was dance in the afternoon. Now I can't remember. Doesn't matter. You would have dance for one part of the day and then academics for the other. And so, yeah, I didn't really have any other disciplines involved in my time, but you were constantly surrounded by the other disciplines. And like I had so many friends in like art and theater and music. And so it was really honestly the coolest experience of my life, just being surrounded by so many people that cared so much about art and so many people that were just so different and so proud to be different. In a way, it was my first time seeing so much diversity in like more ways than one. So it was like I saw, socioeconomic diversity. I saw diversity of practice. I saw diversity in how people were dressing. Because, like, Dallas is very, I don't know, a lot of times I feel like Dallas can feel very monochromatic
Yeah.
in the demographic. It can feel pretty monochromatic. But you find your people, and that was where I found mine. And then life was full of color, like completely full of color. So yeah, I don't know. I forget what the question was, but oh no, I did not have any interdisciplinary. But every once in a while we would have a day called PB&J Day. I don't know why it was called PB&J Day. But we would kind of flip-flop clusters. Like the visual artists would go to the dance building or the dance rooms and we would go to visual and we would draw or paint or something, but that would happen like once or twice a semester. So sometimes.
And how did that experience um, stimulate your mind?
The flip flop.
Yeah.
I think it was awesome. I think it was great. I don't think I remember anything like rocking my world necessarily, but it was just really fabulous to be in somebody else's space and just kind of have the recognition that like, oh, like people are doing other stuff and it's
Right.
just as important.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it was exciting just to kind of get a peek because, we were pretty separate as far as the clusters went, but we were all friends. It wasn't like we never saw each other. We would have, passing periods and academics together and, um, you know, prom, whatever you want to say. But it was really just interesting to get that perspective. I think perspective is just like probably one of the biggest words I could use to describe my Booker T experience, which is getting so much perspective on, on dance, on art, on people.
Right.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. The performing arts schools are definitely a lot more, I would say, intriguing and interesting in the
Hmm.
fact that you do have those other forms of art that people are kind of uh, magnetized to. So you get broad perspective of what a creative community can look like,
Hmm.
and the different ways of thinking, the different ways of expressing,
Hmm.
all of those types of stuff. Did the uh, the friends that you had in dance,
Hmm.
did they come quickly, or did it take a bit of time for those to develop into maybe the close knit friendships that you would have over a long period?
Yeah. I think it took some time. I mean, freshman year, it was definitely easier to make friends because you were separated by your common goal.
Yeah.
So I definitely, it was pretty easy to make friends, but I don't think those friendships like deepened really until sophomore year. And it was with similar people. But I think it did take time. It always takes me time. Um, I like to get, deep in there for a real friendship. But I do think it was easier than it had ever been before, to make friends, which was very special, especially when once my father passed. It was still early in sophomore year, but I still felt like I was being held up by everyone. They even like I was out of school for like a week during that whole process, and
Okay.
the director of the dance program came over and like brought me a massive, and I'm talking like 30-foot long scroll of paper with the entire dance cluster writing me notes. Like, we
No.
hope you're doing okay, like, see you
Yeah.
soon, all that. And so it was just an incredible, incredible environment.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. How did that experience? How did that experience for your mom change the dynamic of the home setting
Once
when
my
that?
father passed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of a can of worms, I'd say. But it definitely, we went from a family of four to a family of three. And my parents had been together since they were 18. So it was like my mom's whole life was all of a sudden upside down.
Yeah.
So it definitely, it kind of made my mom, sister, and I like a group of equals because we were all holding each other and
Okay.
carrying each other through it. Obviously, my mom was, the authoritative figure as well. But I do think that my relationship with my mom, and maybe it's also just because I've been growing up and I would think I'm kind of a mature communicator. So I think that we've always kind of felt a little bit closer. But I think generally speaking, my mom, sister, and I, we just kind of feel like this like band of women. And I think that that had to be the case for all of us to survive. But
Sure.
it's, we've had our ups and downs with everything. My sister had her little rebellious phase in high school, and I
Yeah.
think my anxiety definitely got worse at that point, and my mom was, trying to hold us together but also hold herself together. So it was we were, we had so much family support. My mom comes from one of eight kids, and so we have so many aunts and uncles and so many
Okay.
cousins. So we had a lot of people holding us up. But as you can imagine, it was a pretty trying time for everyone.
For sure. For
Hmm.
sure. And did some of that, from her perspective, needing to provide for the two of you as well, did
Mm,
that transition for her become something of a stressor rather, in terms of the dynamic of the relationship of knowing
yeah.
she's got to take you guys around to these things,
Hmm.
but also too, I've got to provide for them as well.
Yeah. And I think we're very fortunate in that my father took out a life insurance policy pretty quickly. Not like obviously he didn't know he was going to pass. It was an accident
Yeah.
that he went through. But my mom and him had both taken out life insurance policies, and so financially we were pretty okay. And at least
Okay.
as far as I knew, everything was fine. My mom didn't go back to work until Bailey and I were both out of college.
Okay.
Um, and she's a healthcare consultant, like a holistic health coach situation. It's a whole thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, we were okay. I think a lot of things were fortunate in that aspect with
Yeah.
insurance and with investments they had made and all of that. But yes, she definitely had a lot going on and trying to kind of reinvent who she was because I don't think she really knew. I don't think she really knew.
Sure.
Um, yeah.
I can imagine, especially as long as they had been together.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me.
You're fine.
With the um, the the amplification of the anxiety at that point, was
Mm-hmm.
it a sense of the destabilization of everything around you that kind of maybe enhanced that?
Yes. And I honestly, there was like a turning point for me in so many ways. But there were two things that I'll bring up. The first thing is that I remember sitting in the car on the way to the hospital and just like realizing that I couldn't count on anyone to stick around. Not because people
Okay,
weren't going to be good to
right.
me, but just because you never know what's going to happen. Like I remember in my little 14-year-old mind, I was like, I can't count on anyone but myself. And that was probably a dramatic thing to think, but also, that was the conclusion that I came to because my dad was the provider of the family. He was this big, strong man, and all of a sudden he was gone. So that was one big shift that definitely tweaked my already anxious mind. But I also started I used dance as an outlet of control, which was not great because at that point, if something wasn't going well for me, I would shut down.
Yeah.
So it became very, I don't even know. Yeah, I mean, like, it's so embarrassing to like look back on and say, but like I would be like working on a turn and the turn wouldn't go well 4 or 5 times and I would like slap myself across the face and like just like I was like so in this headspace of like, okay, like I have to get this right now. Like this is I have to control this now. And
Right.
I don't think that started happening until after my father passed.
Okay. I
Hmm.
get it. I totally get it. And it makes absolute sense. And I want to be um, respectful of some of the emotion that's involved here as well.
Hmm.
But I think what's coming out is something that is common in the dance community,
Hmm.
as well as the creative community across the board. Um, but if we can move through it a little bit further, even um, what was very interesting to me was that initial thought of I can't count on anyone
Hmm.
but me. Was there any other circumstances prior to that where you might have saw that thought come up earlier on, or was it
I
only in
don't
that
think
moment?
so. Yeah,
Okay,
I don't think so. I think that was just kind of the moment where I realized that like nothing was permanent.
yeah,
Um, in a strange way, because as a kid you just kind of see your parents as this constant thing and then all of a sudden one part of that was just like taken from us very abruptly.
yeah,
And I don't really remember honestly, like again, like I had a pretty magical childhood and like sure there was drama with like me and my sister or me and some mean girls or whatever, but like all things considered we had very little to worry about
yeah,
um until then.
yeah. And the other side of it, the perfectionism that's coming into play um, as well, with the need the need to control. Um, I think that's a first child characteristic, number one.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's a creative characteristic, number two. And then two, from an emotional standpoint, there's a sense where that comes into play in order to try and protect, right?
100%.
So
100%.
if you can control the environment, control the outcome, you're not going to get hurt.
Hmm.
You're not going to be um, disappointed. Any of those things, right?
Hmm.
With that, let's talk about the perfectionism component,
Totally.
because I know a lot of times too in the dance community that can come from the instructors and the teachers, um, and similarly with other dancers as well who maybe you're competing against for a particular position.
Hmm.
Um, were you able to get to any point in high school where some of that started to fade away, or did that just stick and carry into going off to college as well?
There were some tough parts about being at Booker T. It got competitive for the first time in my life. I had, people that were so much better than me, which was exciting, but it was also scary for an immature mind.
Yeah.
Um, and there were also these performing companies that you had to audition for, and it was like the most stressful day of the year because it kind of like determined your entire next year. And for two of those years, I got the lowest one,
Oh,
which was very challenging because I did still feel like I was doing well, but I was doing well in ballet. I wasn't the top in like contemporary or modern, and I slowly got better and better. But I do think that that was a mental struggle for me for a while. But senior year, a lot of things definitely got better. I got into a different company, which was exciting. I was doing very well in all of my classes, got cast in some new things that I had never been in. I got waitlisted at Juilliard, which was the talk of the town for a second. So like a very concrete thing was like we were in this audition all together, and like a bunch of people that in my head were leaps and bounds better than me got cut and I didn't get cut. So it was like this huge, like I was like, whoa, and like everybody was talking about it because Juilliard was like the
for
thing.
sure.
Um,
Yes.
yeah, so I think yeah, that moment senior year was huge. But yeah, I mean, even through college, I had a lot of topsy-turvy feelings about my ability. Self-doubt was honestly, I think I said this in the podcast I did with Maddox and Dwight as well, but like I don't even think I was fully I'm still not quite fully over imposter syndrome.
Okay.
Nobody is really. Um, maybe some. But I do think that until I was like medicated and doing therapy, I think that my anxiety was like completely distorting my view of
Everything.
myself and of
Yeah.
reality. And that was, I wasn't medicated until like 3 years ago you know
Okay.
so though I was doing better and I got hired into a professional company, I was performing in New York, I was performing in Dallas, I was performing everywhere, to getting lead roles, whatever. I don't think that I like allowed myself to feel successful until like 2 or 3 years ago. So
Interesting.
it's been definitely a difficult journey, and things got more and more complicated the more advanced I got, the more demanding ballet got, the harder ballet got, the more competitiveness I felt, the more ballet is not a fair industry by any means. And so, getting acquainted with that as the reality instead of this like gorgeous thing that I had dreamt of my entire life. And it's still beautiful. I love my ballet life. But there is a dark side to it, and it's not my fault, but it's just,
Yeah.
it is what it is. And there was, and kind of still is, a grieving process to what I thought a professional life in ballet would look like.
Okay.
Um, and also what it unfortunately can be for some people, and just kind of the archaic values that are still held by the people in power.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff we could talk about there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think that especially in art is tricky because it's relative, but sometimes it's not.
Yeah.
Like ballet, all dance is beautiful, but in ballet there's a right and a wrong.
Yeah.
And the only person that can tell you that is the person at the front of the room, not yourself. So even if you feel good about something you're doing, somebody else could look at you and be like, that's not right. You need to fix this, 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 and this. And more often than not, they'll tell you what you need to fix rather than what you're doing well.
Yeah.
And so even if you're getting better, you feel horrible about yourself some of the time.
Yeah.
So it's,
Yeah.
but some days are great. Some days are wonderful, but it is hard to have most of your perceived value given to you by someone else.
Absolutely.
So I think
That's
that's the struggle.
yeah. That is the paradox of it. It, it's something that's always hurt my heart in seeing different things across creative communities
Hmm.
where you have particular individuals that become um, the quote unquote expert or the ones that are in charge that are dictating who gets to move forward, who doesn't, who's doing well, who's not. And it realistically, we said this kind of towards the beginning, it's all relative, right?
Hmm.
it's all relative to everything around us, essentially. I mean, from an art standpoint, you can see a piece of art that seems like it may have been created by a kindergartner,
Hmm.
but yet because of where that comes up in a community, it has the potential to rise to the top and say, this is the most fantastic artist of our decade,
Sure.
right?
Hmm.
Only because it's from that individual community who has some people who are the the influential voices
Sure.
that get to move that needle.
Hmm.
And I always, when I say it hurts my heart from the perspective of, if you're telling that to someone who's at the age of development of 13, 14, there's that. Not only is it an age of development in terms of the mind and the body changing,
Hmm.
because hormones are starting to kick in and all those different things, right? But that's a transition period in whatever creative thing you're in as well, of where it's starting to create that foundation of what it's going to be like moving forward.
Hmm.
And if you don't have enough of the encouragement and the support there, it can change that mindset to always be looking at the bad or the negative,
Hmm.
or what is perceived to be the negative,
Hmm.
moving on.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm seeing that play out
Yeah.
with your story.
Hmm.
Um, it's it's a thing to, for those that are listening, if they can glimmer some things about the way you're talking about how you viewed yourself in relation to that, um, it will help them moving forward as well, because you've transitioned to where you're at now from
Hmm.
where you were then,
Hmm.
and we're going to explore that. But I think these are the key elements of your story as a dancer,
Hmm.
and that can speak to that community, um, in a way that is a bit of encouragement,
Hmm.
because they're saying, "Oh, okay, here's somebody else that's similar to me that was dealing with this."
Yeah. And I definitely try to pass that on to my students. Like, obviously, I wouldn't tell them like all the nitty gritty, but
Right?
there's students that I see that just don't believe in themselves, even if objectively they're doing well.
Yeah,
And it just takes me back, like in like snap, like I snap into it and I'm like, whoa, like it's like it's so meta. Like I'm like looking
yeah,
at myself and I'm like, oh my God. Like, so it's also been healing to be a teacher, not only because I can kind of give my younger students a little perspective, but also for me to see how wrong I was to view myself so harshly.
yeah,
Um, there was actually this little girl. This is a little bit off topic, but not really. There was, I teach a lot of littles, and I teach all ages, but I love to teach the babies.
yeah,
And when I say babies, I mean like six. They're six. And I was teaching like a camp to them at the beginning of the summer, and there was this little girl, and I won't say names because, privacy.
sure, yeah,
But she was so sweet, so dedicated, and so anxious, and she would cry if she messed something up. She's little, like you can't explain, so but it was interesting because I would comfort her and we would, she would like hug me and be like, I just have a lot of feelings, and I'm like, baby, I do too, it's okay. And then there
yeah,
was this one day where they were, they have the ballet bars and they were taking them away, and she turns to her friend and she goes, Mary Margaret, can I ask you a question? And she was like, yeah, of course. And she goes, are you mad at me? Are we still friends? And I was like, I lost it. I wasn't like crying or anything, but mentally I was like, like I could not believe that this perfect 6-year-old was having the feelings that I also had as a
yeah,
perfect 7-year-old. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So it's those mind-blowing moments where not only do I, not that it's not my job to fix anyone, but I do think that it's my job to offer any aid that I can. So it feels healing to me to be able to be someone that maybe I didn't have,
for sure.
and it's also healing to see myself in these students and realize how not at fault I was.
Yeah.
So that was a beautiful and very profound moment for me because I had never before seen another kid with that kind of anxiety. And I know that kids have other kinds of anxiety, and I've seen it in
Sure.
different ways, but that specifically, like outwardly being like, "Are you mad at me?" was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like,
Yeah.
anyway, so it's moments like
You
that.
saw your, you saw
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah, I did in like a very parallel way,
Yeah.
a very parallel way, and it was crazy.
That that's the as much as it sucks, it's also the beauty of growing older
Hmm.
as a creative, because the younger generations coming up behind us were able to see how we were at those ages, and when it is an expression of exactly how we were at those ages,
Hmm.
it's an open door in two ways. It's an open door for us to be able to give them some comfort, some grace, some encouragement, but also too, it's an open door for us to realize, oh wow, we've come so far from that. Now it's my turn to help that little,
Hmm.
because I didn't have the opportunity to help myself as the little.
Yeah, yeah, it
So that,
was
right, that
incredible.
it is beautiful
Hmm.
from that perspective. As you're getting these opportunities in high school with these different companies, getting this potential recognition and opportunity, that's a question mark, but in and of itself is an accolade to
Hmm.
potentially look at Juilliard.
Yeah.
Is your mind starting to think of, okay, what am I going to do with my future as a dancer? Am I going to go to this level? Am I thinking about going to this level,
Yeah.
or am I just focused here now? What was the thought process there?
Yeah, I definitely always wanted to dance post high school. Professionally, definitely. I wasn't sure for a time about college because a funny thing about ballet is that you used to not go to college.
Yeah.
And still, even now, people, don't go to college and they go to training programs instead. But my mom was not having that.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I always knew that I wanted to keep it going for as long as I could. And I dreamt constantly of what it would be like to have a professional ballet career. Um, so yeah, I think that I definitely started to kind of get a clearer look at what I wanted. And yeah, I ended up going the college route, which was incredible for me. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think I ever questioned it too much. I gratefully had the most supportive parents, and I have a lot of friends that maybe didn't have quite the support that I had in high school and in college. So I never had to question it because I was never given a reason to think otherwise with
Got you.
my goals, which I know is a
And
privilege.
yeah, sure, sure. Well, it, it, it's it's a relative privilege as well.
Hmm.
Um, Not everybody has it. Some have it. Some do. But also too, it just depends on the situation.
Right.
The the thought process of where you're going to go, was there a determining factor in that realm?
For college?
Yeah.
Yeah, I auditioned for about 14 schools, all with either dance or ballet programs, and I do think that I had like a favorite three or four, and I was thankfully accepted into them, but the main deciding factor was not only that I got a scholarship to go to the University of Utah, I got a very big academic scholarship, which was very helpful, but also I took a class for my audition and it was by far my favorite class that I took. It was, of course an audition class, but the way that it was taught, the way that corrections were given, the big beautiful studio space, the whole thing, everything was like yes, 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 yes. So I think that it ended up being the perfect thing, but I was very unsure for a while because yes, I had the big scholarship, so that ended up being not only the easiest option but also the best when it was looked at holistically.
Yeah.
But I was still like, oh, I shouldn't be going to college. And I was still bummed because I ended up not getting accepted into Juilliard. I was just
Right.
waitlisted the whole time, which was fine. I do think that it was better for me in the end. But so there was a little part of me that was like, I already failed in that respect. And also, I shouldn't even be going to college in the first place. So at
Mm,
first, it was very tough because I loved my high school so much that I couldn't imagine anything getting better. And it
right.
didn't necessarily get better, it was just different. Um, but once I was there, it took a few months and then things started to kind of roll. And then I realized I was exactly where I needed to be.
Okay.
Hmm.
When you get into that space of exactly where you need to be, does the anxiety still follow you along the way into that?
Yes, not as much. It was still, it's hard to explain. I imagine it as like a constant hum of like
Yeah.
making sure I'm always doing it correctly, making sure, because we would have class for 2 hours every day, like technique class, 2 hours every day, and then we would have a point class for another hour, and then we'd have rehearsal, the whole thing. And I would be anxious going into class, wondering, is she going to give me a step that I can't do yet? Am I going to have to look bad for a
Yeah.
second? So I think like it was just like a little hum constantly. And I did have like social anxieties about things happening back home and little things like that. But I do think I was in a better place for a little while. Um, and then, pandemic. So,
Right. Right. The thing that turned everybody upside down.
hmm.
Um, when that happened for you, uh, was it a scenario that you had to come back home, or was it a scenario of we got to kind of sequester at the dorms or living space?
I was living off campus. And I was going to an audition because it was my senior year and I was like ready to get out. And I was going to an audition, and on my plane to fly to my audition, I got an email saying that the rest of my semester was going online. So it was wild because I like had just landed on the East Coast and I was like, okay, so like school is like not a thing anymore. So I did my audition and then we were gonna fly back to school, my boyfriend and I. Um, and we were like, okay, I guess we have to like go out to eat because all the restaurants are gonna close. So we like went out to eat for the last time, and then we ended up just like sequestering. He lived about 2 blocks away, so we would like that was our little like pod. It was like me, my roommate, and then him and his roommates. We were like a little safe net.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, we sequestered ish for like a month. And then my mom freaked out and made me come home, which was very challenging because I didn't get to say goodbye to any of my friends. And it was my graduation that didn't happen. And
Right.
um, I had to move all of my stuff out. I wasn't just like going home, I was like taking everything with me. Um, so that was crazy. And then, we were in the limbo of like, what the hell is going to happen? I was taking ballet by myself every day in my living room. We moved the furniture, we put down a floor, bought a bar on Amazon, and I just like gave myself class every day. And I wasn't like, I did that for months, months.
Right.
And then by some miracle, I got hired at the company that I danced for the last 5 years. But I didn't know about that until August. I had sent so many emails and auditions and tried to find a space because it became clear that I couldn't really go back to Utah because I needed to make money now that I was graduated.
Yeah.
I thought about moving to Chicago because there was a training place that could have me there, but I would have to pay for it, which was tough. And then I was like, okay, well, like I live at home, but like there's no dance here. Like I'm done with that. And then I found some little companies here. And it's funny to say that now because ACB became like my whole life. But I like emailed all these people and I was like, hi, here are my materials. Ah. And then on some random day, I get a call from my past director and she was like, we have a spot for you. We would love to have you on scholarship. And I was like, oh my God. So that was a miracle. But completely an accident. I never thought that I was going to come back home. But it ended up being the best. So
Okay.
yeah.
You mentioned a boyfriend.
Yes.
When when he came across your view,
Hmm.
what were the circumstances surrounding that? Where it was like, oh, who is this?
It's a really fun story.
Okay.
We met my freshman year. And we met during, so whatever, we met during the 2016 World Series with the Cubs. Um, we were both Cubs fans, and basically in game six, we were all watching in the dining hall. I was not aware of him. And I like screamed because I was so excited that we got a grand slam in like, I don't know, the 10th inning or whatever. And
Yeah.
he like turned around and he was like, "Oh my God, like who was that? Like come sit with us." Because we're in Utah. Like who cares about the Cubs in Utah?
Right.
Um, and so yeah, we like never that was like kind of history once we met there. But I was like obsessed with him because he and his close friends were all musical theater majors. So I was like, oh my God, like the arts
Right.
people. I found them. Like I found
Yeah.
them. And he was beautiful and so fun and so talented. We're actually getting married, so he's the same one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I was drawn to his spirit. I was drawn to his warm and open person. I was drawn to his artistry. Um, yeah, there were so many things, but that's kind of when my freshman year turned around. It all kind of happened at the same time. I had been in rehearsals for that whole semester up until like Halloween-ish. And I had
Yeah.
become really close with some girls. That Halloween weekend, we all like went out as girls and had a great time. And then I had girlfriends. And then the World Series, I met him the next day. So everything at that point kind of became, it flourished at that point.
Yeah.
So he was just kind of part of the color that entered my life at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
And in relation to musical theater versus ballet,
Hmm.
what were you seeing that kind of turned it from um, maybe a monotone color of ballet into technicolor of musical theater for you? Was there a
Yeah.
particular production that did that for you, or is there just in?
No, I mean, yeah, I don't do musical theater. It's all on him. But I do
Yeah,
love it. I've always loved musical theater. I think it's just a spectacular art form. They're so multifaceted in their talents. And there's so much humanity that comes through in musical theater music. I think humanity comes through in music, but also like when there's something extra
yeah,
about musicals. There's just something extra. And I have always been obsessed with Phantom of the Opera, and I loved Hamilton more than I even know how to explain. So
okay,
to have someone kind of understand that, and also something really beautiful about him is that he always has had such a love for humans. And I also have like a deep love and like appreciation for humans. And so it was just like really interesting to I don't know. We just had more in common than I ever thought that I could have with somebody else. So I don't even know if it was like musical theater at all. I think it was just like having
okay,
someone who also saw the world in a similar way.
yeah,
Um, yeah. And it's just I love musical theater. I love it. So it was fun. Also he's an incredible singer, so it's just like the whole thing was just fun. It was just
the
fun.
whole package, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Coming out uh, of having to move back home and um, again working by yourself in developing your career essentially.
Hmm.
Um, at what point did the injury come about? Was it
Mm.
prior to this, or is it after this, or around the same time?
I had a couple injuries throughout my career. I had a big one the year that my father passed that took me out of dancing during my
Okay.
grieving, like my peak grieving period, which was horrible.
Yeah.
But the injury you're probably talking about happened just like 2 years ago. I had a partial tear in my ACL, which was
Mm,
crazy because nothing like happened. It was just like an overtime overuse injury.
okay.
But I like woke up one day and like it had been hurting on and off and clicking. But you know, bodies click, bodies hurt when you dance. But then I couldn't stand on it, and I was like, so that took me out for about 8 weeks, I think. But I think that once I healed from that, a lot of things changed for me, career wise.
Yeah.
So I assume that's the one you're talking about.
Yes. And what I want to delve into with that though is the fact the amount of stress and strain that ballet has on the feet and
Hmm.
ankles as
Hmm.
well. That in and of itself is a whole thing
Yeah.
about that creative expression.
Hmm.
How did that um, how did that play out for you? Were you able? Are there ways um, in ballet for you to build up strength and dexterity with the
Hmm.
feet and ankles to
Certainly.
not have injuries, or does it just
Yeah.
always come along with it?
Well, I mean, it depends. It depends because if you're being trained correctly, by the time you're getting put on point, you have relative strength to be able to, you have to get to a certain point to get on point, and then
Yeah,
you have to get even stronger to be like functional.
yeah,
So, yes, if you're being trained correctly, you're never going to feel like there's too big of a jump to the next thing. But again, like I don't really think most bodies are built for ballet, even people who like have the perfect facility. And I have a pretty good facility for ballet. I wouldn't say I'm like, we always joke, my friends and I, my dance friends and I were like, oh, the Russians wouldn't choose us. Because the Russians, they handpick the 7-year-olds and have the perfect bone
yes,
structure. And we're like, oh, the Russians wouldn't choose us, but we're doing pretty well. So even like I'm doing well and I've had a great career, but even if you do have the perfect facility, I think that there's just so much. Nobody is meant to stand on your toes. Like it's like yes, we are strong enough, we are capable, like, but there's always going to be, it's hard. It's just hard. And there's so much demanded of you. There's so many long hours. And if you're not getting enough rest or enough physical therapy, like it just happens. And I think that happens to everyone. Like football players are strong as hell, but like they're gonna break a bone every once in a while.
yeah,
So I think it's like obviously we're not being hit. But the amount of pressure that, because we jump, like we're jumping, 5 feet in the air, landing on just our feet, or we're like, we're doing things on point, and like that's your whole body weight on the tips of your toes. So there's a lot of extra strain. And of course, again, I'm strong. I'm good. We're all strong. We build up that stamina, and it is a lot about stamina, but even the strong get injured. It's just a
yeah,
very intense and demanding art form.
for sure, for
Hmm.
sure. The reason I wanted to go in this direction was number one was because you had some athletic experience early on growing up, as well as I've had athletic experience.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to relate it. Um, I did basketball, soccer, and softball.
Hmm.
Um, Mostly soccer
Hmm.
became the thing that was the um, where I played even up until 2017.
Oh
I
wow.
was playing indoor and outdoor, uh,
Amazing.
a keeper.
Hmm.
Also, too, I understand what a knee injury is like.
Hmm.
When I was 14, I had to have uh, knee surgery on my left knee because I had Osgood-Schlatter's disease,
Mm.
which is where you grow too fast and
Hmm.
you develop the little craters in the bone that are so
Wow.
painful.
Hmm.
So that was at 14. Flash forward to 2001, playing soccer indoor. I go to make a turn with the ball, and as I'm turning with the ball, got a defender that just blindsides me from the
Mm.
side, and it
Hmm.
blew my knee out completely. Tore
Oof.
my ACL in half, tore my meniscus. Um, so I understand what an injury can do for you from mindset,
Hmm.
what it does to the body in terms of pain
Yeah.
with recovery,
Hmm.
and then trying to build that up enough to get back into what you love and continue on with that. For you, when you had that tear, was it a scenario of we need to go in and fix this and repair some of it? Or was it more of we need to do some physical therapy to try and rebuild this and make it stronger than it is?
Yeah, I didn't have to get surgery, which was a huge blessing. But I was pretty sedentary for a few weeks before I was even allowed to see a physical therapist.
Okay.
Because they were just so worried that based on my MRI, they were just so concerned that if I did anything, it could just tear.
Right.
So thankfully it was able to get repaired. And I even saw a surgeon and he was like, you don't need surgery, but like, here's what you do need. So it was just a long process, and it was unfortunate because I actually found out like a week before my ballet season was supposed to start. So I completely missed the first 8 weeks of our season, and thankfully I was back for Nutcracker, but I didn't get to do nearly as much as I normally would do. So it kind of took that whole first chunk of the season and made it so minimal. Like I was sewing costumes, because I had nothing else to do. Um,
Right.
so it was a very interesting experience. And it felt like it took forever. And not, that wasn't, I never was like, is this the end? Like it didn't feel like the end. It just felt like a very prolonged delay.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. You said you were sewing costumes.
Mm-hmm.
That in and of itself is very a very specialized thing within dance,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's musical theater, whether it's ballet, whether it's contemporary. The construction and the putting together of costumes has its own unique realm of creativity and achievement as well. If you have
Mm-hmm.
somebody that's very, very good at putting a costume together, they can
Oh, I'm
just
so sorry.
help create the worlds um, that people are going to be dancing in.
Right.
Um, you just
There we go.
flip that
Sorry.
back. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's all right.
my something weird happened.
Yeah,
Am I
it's
back?
doing it. No, not yet.
Oh no.
Still vertical. There you are.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right. Um, how was that for the mind during that time of downtime in terms of the dance component
Yeah.
versus still being involved, but in a
Hmm.
different field area?
It was bittersweet because I do like I like being productive. So
Right.
it definitely felt a little therapeutic to be because I wasn't sewing anything crazy. I was like sewing hooks and eyes on costumes, like little tiny things, tightening
Okay, gotcha.
straps, or I wasn't creating costumes,
All
but I
right.
was fixing them up and stuff like that. So I think I felt really grateful to be able to do something to stay involved. And I felt grateful to have something to keep me busy. But it was also sad because that was my only contribution at the time. Like I couldn't even like I could barely stand on two legs. So I was like, this feels horrible. I
Yeah.
remember we took company photos and I had to like be in the back so that you couldn't see that my knee was bent. um so yeah, it was nice to stay included, but it definitely felt bittersweet to know that that was the only thing that I could contribute to the company at the time.
Okay.
Hmm.
Um, being in this company environment and in this opportunity that you were scholarshiped into, um, did it did it give you a sense of, okay, this is what I think I want to do as my full on career,
Mm.
or did it give you a sense of, okay, this is just the next step?
Um, I knew well before that I wanted company life. In you're kind of trained to feel as though company life is the goal.
Okay.
So in many ways, I felt like I had started to achieve that goal. Um, and I think I mean, I loved being a part of the company. I only finished my last season in May. So I'm only leaving because I'm getting married and he's already in New York. There's a whole thing. And I'm still going to dance in New York. I just don't know what that's going to look like quite yet.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I think being there definitely it was like, okay, like this is what I'm meant to do. But I didn't necessarily feel like this is the place I need to be forever. It was just like this is a wonderful place to be right now, and who knows what comes next. And that's kind of where I stayed mentally for 5 years because I just ended up loving it so much.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. Okay. You mentioned a little bit earlier about the anxiety component and uh, doing some therapy
Hmm.
and taking some medications.
Yes.
If you're willing to walk into that with
Hmm.
me, um,
Totally.
what was the thing that clicked in your head where either you or a family member said, okay, maybe we need to look at therapy as something to assist?
Hmm. I think that in my personal experience, it was completely self-run. My mom is amazing, but she isn't a huge fan of
Right, right.
medication.
Yeah.
She is like a holistic health person, so she was always like, try this supplement, eat this kind of food, do this, do that. And I was like, Mom, I'm still depressed. Um, so I put myself in therapy, I guess 2 years into living in Dallas again, just because I had never really gone to therapy for my grief. I tried that a few times, but I think I was too young and like grief stricken to even start going to therapy. And I didn't want to talk about my dad with strangers. Anyway, so it was a very complex issue
Sure.
as a 14-year-old. But as a
Yes.
21, 22-year-old girl, I was like, I think I need some guidance. And just, I think I started to grow uncomfortable with how little I had processed it. Because there's not like a way to process grief. You kind of just have to
Oh,
like
sure.
do it, you know? But I
Yeah.
wanted some help. And I had a friend who had a really amazing therapist, and so now I'm with her therapist because she moved away. Um, and it's been wonderful. And then I kind of had a breaking point. I guess it was my second year in the company, maybe my third. But I like couldn't go a full day. Maybe that's not completely true. I would cry a lot.
Okay.
I would, I would have a bad rehearsal and I would like be in my car and I would just like cry. Or I
Yeah.
would be in class and I would be like, do I even want to do this anymore? And so I just like did not feel like myself. And and it was post pandemic. But I was like, we were on a family trip and I looked at my mom and I was like, Mom, like I think my best friend like hates me right now. And she was like, why? Like, why do you think that? And I was like, I don't know. I just like really feel like my friend doesn't like me anymore. And like, did I have any reason to think that? No, but it consumed me for days. Um,
Yeah.
and we were like on a family trip, having a great time. And I was just like sitting there being like, oh my God, like Kelsey hates me. Um, yeah, so I think I was just noticing more and more that I was just like not doing very well. And a lot of it was dance related, a lot of it was socially. I just wasn't viewing myself very well. I felt like no matter what I did, I wasn't good enough. I felt like my boyfriend didn't like me anymore. I was like, do I even like my boyfriend anymore? Like everything was just like, it was a disaster. And it
Okay.
kind of all came to a point in like one summer. I was miserable.
All right.
Um, and I had tried to talk to my mom about it a lot, and I ended up having to go low key behind her back to talk to a psychiatrist because she was like, she didn't want me to go on
Sure.
medication. She didn't really understand. She understands now. We've come a long way. Um, so yeah, that was kind of all. But my therapist many times had been like, have you thought about trying medication? And I was like, no, I can't because of my mom. And then again, she was like, have you thought about trying medication? I think you really need it. And I was like, yeah, maybe you're right. And yeah, it thankfully the first medication we tried worked great for me. I know a lot of people have struggled with having like they have to try a bunch of different ones because some make it worse, some make it better, some don't do anything. But thankfully, the first one we tried changed wonders. And I'm on a pretty low dose, but it's really changed my life. I still have anxiety, but it's so manageable, and I can see it as a separate thing. So even when I do have bad days, it's not the end of the world. My life doesn't shut down if I can't do a perfect pirouette.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a journey because I didn't feel supported by my immediate family. Just because my mom is very set in her ways, which is wonderful for her, but it just is not my journey.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, definitely a journey, but that's another kind of thing in my life where I see a very definitive before and after.
Okay.
Hmm.
The the therapist that you were seeing, did she help you to realize that some of the perfectionism um, that your mind was creating for you
Hmm.
was probably not always 100% honest with Sydney?
Hmm. Yeah, we've definitely talked a lot about how my like subconscious has created ways to make me feel safe, has created things to make me feel like I'm in control, has created things to like protect me before there's a problem. So we've talked a lot about like how my mind is working, maybe not to my advantage, even though it was doing it for self-preservation, it no longer is no longer helpful. So yeah, there's been a lot of I guess I've been seeing her for like four-ish, maybe 3, 4 years now. I can't remember, but there's definitely been a lot of like deconstructing, reconstructing happening with how I view myself, how I view my relationships, how I view dance. So it's been great. It's been great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good, good. I from my side of it, I've been in therapy since 1994
Mm-hmm.
regularly. Um, for most of the years was just therapy based, but I was fortunate enough to have a psychiatrist and a cognitive therapist
Mm.
that were willing to let me explore outside of Western medicine
Mm.
structures.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I understand the perspective that your mother has
Yes, certainly. And so do I.
because I've had the opportunity to look at those things as ways to potentially assist and or alleviate some of
Mm-hmm.
the issues that I would have with depression and anxiety. And also to the other side of it, I've been on medication since 95.
Mm-hmm.
Only have had two combinations that have ever worked.
Mm-hmm.
The first combination was an MAOI
Mm-hmm.
medication where I had to alter my diet
Mm.
to take that, and then got injured in 2001 with the knee injury. Get all the way into the operating room. Anesthesiologist looks at my chart and he's like, I can't put you to sleep. And I'm like, okay, well, why not?
Yeah.
These medications, like,
Oh my
you're
God.
on these medications. If I put you to sleep, you're going to die on the table. And I was like,
Oh my
oh,
God.
fantastic. Like, all right, what's with the medical system here? Like,
Yeah. How
I
did you
got,
not tell me that before I was in the
yeah, I
operating
got
room?
this far in.
Yeah.
And then so I had to come off of that for 2 weeks, which was horrible. Um, and then have the surgery and then
Right.
try to find something else, get back on something else. And at
Mm.
this point, because I've been on them so long, they don't really do what they were supposed to do in the beginning for me
Mm-hmm.
anymore. So I'm constantly looking at alternative medicine. I work with an intuitive healer
Mm.
in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
and my life has changed exponentially in the last
Mm.
8 years
Mm-hmm.
of working with her versus 25 plus years of working with cognitive therapists, psychiatrists. So I understand the full spectrum of
Mm-hmm.
modalities that are possible
Mm-hmm.
for somebody to be able to step into.
Right.
Um, but I think it's very telling for the audience as well with your personal experience of realizing I think I need something extra to
Mm-hmm.
assist me here,
Mm-hmm.
and being willing to search out a therapist, being open to the possibility of a medication for however amount of time it's needed for.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think that's another perspective that I want to highlight on you to the audience is the fact that you, in your mind, realized, I think I need a little bit extra here to
Mm-hmm.
assist me through what I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
Um, Whereas I think a lot of times creative community can, opt for something that comes out of a liquor store
Mm-hmm.
or something that they get on the street
Mm-hmm.
to assist, and they don't have a real structural accompaniment to
Mm.
go along with those. So it leads them into either further deterioration or other issues that go
Mm-hmm.
along with that. And I want to just, highlight this for the creative community that if you are in a spot where you're struggling and nothing seems to be helping, don't be afraid to look at the possibility of working with somebody
Yeah.
um, who's trained in a particular modality for assistance.
Mm-hmm.
It can help.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
Sometimes, too, there's a scenario where you go to one, it's not the right fit, and then you get disappointed and don't look further.
Right.
I want to encourage people to continuously be their own advocate
Hmm.
because I've had to do that for myself.
Hmm.
Um, because there's many times when I'm seeing my psychiatrist and I'm on this medication that I'm dipping into these lows that
Hmm.
neither one is helping.
Right.
So I had to be my own advocate of be willing to be curious and look at other things that potentially could help me and eventually would find one that would. So
Right.
there's many times it was just trial and error.
Hmm.
um, but I think with it you have to be willing to be your own advocate for your own mind and your own person individually to get to a place of, all right, this is something I'm going to try. Maybe it's the thing that helps me. And if it is, fantastic. Where I'm saying from your perspective, it's helped you
Hmm.
tremendous. Even being on a small dose of
Exactly.
what you're taking, which even
Hmm.
mine, they're very small doses, but I've taken them for a long period of time.
Hmm.
Um, and the difficulty with that for me and from my side of the story is that when you take something long enough, your body just gets used to having it
Hmm.
versus it doing the beneficial things it needs to do.
Mm.
Um, so I'm looking at different scenarios of, okay, what can I do at this point to potentially come off of something, uh,
Hmm.
or find something that will replace it. Um,
Right.
it's a journey, but I understand that journey that you're talking about, getting to that place of I really think I need something else to
Hmm.
assist here. With being in that for a while and experiencing that, now you're in another place where you're potentially transitioning. As you mentioned, you are engaged and
Hmm.
thinking about a new uh, life together with your significant other, and also too him being in a different city.
Hmm.
How is that playing out for you? Number one, from the mental standpoint of the therapy, along with this new thing that's going to be hopefully as wonderful as the
Yeah.
marriage your parents had.
Yeah, my whole life is changing this fall. I am here until October and then I'm moving to New York. But before I move, we get married. So it's like a whole transition. But yeah, I'm gonna move up to New York with him. And it's gonna be a huge thing. I'm very conscious of how much is changing. I'm very conscious that it's going to be a lot for me. And I'm not
Yeah,
expecting it to be easy, especially in New York City. But I'm hoping to feel it, go through it, and arrive on the other side in one piece. I'm not expecting it to be horrible, but I do think it's going to be challenging. And I'm excited for something new. I do think that my life it's been getting progressively better each year, I think, but it also has been kind of the same in a lot of ways. So I am really looking forward to not only not being long distance anymore, but also having a new lease on life in a way. So
yeah,
yeah, I think it's going to be stressful. I definitely have had some anxiety, manageable anxiety, but since being home, because I did a lot of traveling this summer, teaching and doing a program and all of that. So now I'm like back in Dallas, but I'm not doing my normal Dallas things because I'm leaving.
yeah. Right, right.
So it definitely is interesting, but I am excited, and I do think that I have everything that I need to succeed. It's just going to be a matter of getting there and making it happen. So
Yeah,
trying to stay positive, but also understanding that I got my work cut out for me.
right, right.
Hmm.
Is he already established in a career there that
Yeah.
is
Hmm.
creative?
Yes,
Okay.
he actually just finished a off-Broadway production um this past month. He finished on August 3rd. He was in it for about a year. But yeah, he's in the theater industry out there and working hard to get new opportunities all the time. It's kind of a constant grind, which is
Yeah,
similar for what it will be for me, I think, for a little while. But he's enjoying it and he's had some success, so it's been really awesome.
cool. Do you have some ideas of things already in mind that you
Hmm.
want to look at once you get there?
Yes, absolutely. I'm really interested in dancing for the Metropolitan Opera Ballet.
Okay.
They dance at Lincoln Center, which is a huge thing, and um, they have a pretty stable company life. Like I would get to take ballet class every day, and you know when your performances are and that kind of a thing. So definitely, I'm going to look into the Met, and then kind of any freelance work that I can find. I gratefully have a lot of friends in the city from my time at Booker T. A lot of those artists went up to New York, and
Okay.
I just know people. And Alexander, my fiance, has a ton of friends in musical theater that ended up out there just to pursue Broadway.
Yeah.
So gratefully, I will have a network of friends, if not colleagues.
Cool.
Um, so yeah, I think I'm just gonna try to keep a really open mind, because something really beautiful about my time in Dallas is that at the company that I was at, a lot of my dance dreams came true, like more than I ever thought possible. And so I'm kind of going to New York with a sense of freedom. I don't necessarily feel as though I have to accomplish anything in particular. I just want to keep dancing.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so that's a pretty beautiful place to be when for so long I felt like I had boxes to check to be worthy or to be
Right.
valid, like, or to have all of the hard work I did be, meaningful. And of course, it's
Yeah.
always meaningful, but you want it to amount to something that you recognize. Um, but I don't really feel that pressure anymore, which is really incredible. And I've received so many gifts from being a part of the company and got to perform some of my lead or my dream lead roles. And now I just kind of feel like I'm, a little freer than I ever have been.
Yeah. That's a beautiful place to be in. And I commend you for the work that you've done
Thank you.
to get to that space.
Hmm.
Um, with the company that you've been a part of and one of those dream roles, can you share with the audience what that was and how that uh, came about and or made you feel?
Sure. There's actually two that I can talk about. One that
All right.
happened directly post injury and one that was actually my last show. So post injury, I had been doing a lot of physical therapy and I had been taking class very gingerly. I was very careful with how I was using my body, but very conscious. And I think that that kind of unlocked a new awareness of my body and potentially made me a better dancer because of it. And my director noticed. And I got cast as Odette in Swan Lake, which was a dream role of mine. She's like the Swan Queen in the story. And you grow up watching certain ballets, you grow up thinking about certain roles, and that was 100% one of mine. It felt like I won't say like born to do it because that sounds so like pretentious, but it just like it felt so correct in my
Yeah.
body. Like certain movements feel like they belong to me, not like I don't own them, but that like my body was made to do certain types of movement. And that was definitely one of them. I'm like looking at the flowers. I dried the flowers and I still have them from that show.
Oh,
Um,
cool.
but yeah, that was monumental for me because I didn't think number one, I didn't know that I would ever have that opportunity because you have to be at the right place at the right time. And number two, I was injured. So I thought that I had no chance. Like as soon as I got injured, I was like, now I have no chance to do Swan Lake because we don't get casting until the show is coming up. So I got injured in August and I knew that Swan Lake was in February. And I was like, oh my God, like I just like ruined all of my chances. But it ended up working out. And one of the most meaningful things that I've ever done on stage. Now, the second one still blows my mind because it just happened.
Okay.
But there was this ballet, and it's called After the Rain. And I saw the piece for the first time when I was 13 at Booker T because they
Oh,
like we had to do dance history essays, and I wrote my essay on this ballet because I was researching San Francisco Ballet and they had done it and I watched it. And I remember I was in my room as a 13-year-old on my laptop watching this ballet and thinking to myself, like, this is like the pinnacle of dancing. Like, this is the best that it gets. This is amazing. This choreography is amazing. And like, nobody can argue with the fact that it just like rips your heart out. It is so beautiful. The music is incredible. Um, and we did it at the company and I didn't think I was going to get it because it's one girl and one guy. It's a pas de deux. Um, and lo and behold, I got cast. And, you know, I started learning it and I heard the music and I was just like there were moments where I would just like cry, not in like a dramatic way, but like just like tears would fall down my face. And the day that we tried on the costumes, and you have to get the costumes from a specific place. Like we rented them from another company because they're copyrighted. And the music, we
oh,
always have live
wow.
music
Okay.
with the company. So I'm putting on the leotard he's putting on the pants, and we're listening to the music on live cello, and I am just crying doing this choreography. And it is still like, I'm still, you can probably just hear it in my voice, like I'm still
Yeah.
just so awestruck
Yeah.
by the full circleness of that, because that was a piece that I never thought that I could do, not because I'm not capable, but because it's such a specific piece of choreography. It's one girl, and not every company does it, because it's like you have to have certain rights and you have to have someone that's allowed to bring the piece to the company.
Right.
You have to get the choreographer's permission to put it on the company. So a lot of things went right, and that dream came true 3 months ago, 4 months ago. Um,
That's
Crazy.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's amazing. Um, just for a little bit of um, technical information in
sure.
terms of the rights and ownership scenario
Hmm.
uh, that go into it. Are you able to explain um, why that is the case for that particular piece for the creative community?
Sure. So certain choreographers are very well known. And this man, Christopher Wheeldon, is like a pillar in contemporary choreography. And so his work is so famous and so spectacular and so respected that it just has rights attached to it. And so to get those rights, you have to ask him or his representatives, and then he has a group of people that are repetitors, which just means they can come into a place, a setting, and set the choreography on whoever is cast. So we had a woman, Michelle Gifford, come, and she has worked with the company a lot. She's a repetitor for not only Christopher Wheeldon, but also for George Balanchine, who's another famous um, dancer artist of our time. But she was able to come and set that work on us. So it's a lot of it's a chain reaction that all has to go your way. And so there was no guarantee that Christopher Wheeldon would have allowed us to have this piece. But he did. And Michelle was able to come, and she chose me to do it. And it was just kind of a miracle, because again, that could have gone 1,000 different ways. We could have gotten a different piece from him. We could have gotten no piece from him. She could have chosen anyone else. So yeah, it is kind of a, I guess the point of that is just to kind of maintain the sanctity and the pureness of the choreography, to make sure it's set correctly, to make sure that it is what's the word? Maintained
Yeah,
correctly. Hmm.
maintain the excellence of it.
Yes.
And the way I'm seeing this, and the reason why I wanted you to explain it a little bit further, was the fact that across the creative community, a lot of times there's certain um, sections of the creative community that feel that it's okay to just take from somebody else
Mm.
and do what they feel like with it and put
Hmm.
it out there. Um, but there's also an ethical side of the creative community where there always needs to be a respect given for the person who comes up with the idea or the original format of something. Um, happens in music
Hmm.
extensively. It happens in fine art extensively, where there's those boundaries of copyright ownership that have to be respected. Not always the case.
Right.
Trademarks, different things like that, especially within the music community
Hmm.
industry. You've got writers who create the words, and then you've got musicians who help create the music that go along with the words. So you have different layers of ownership that take place um, that establish a foundation for a piece that a lot of times will get taken by somebody else and used and put out and never give credit where the credit is due. Uh,
Right.
so I just wanted to give a little bit of a perspective of the fact that it is in dance as well, that
Right.
there are
Exactly.
originators that have to be respected and certain standards that have to be adhered to in that space.
Hmm.
One of the things that we both have in common is that we both have been on Maddox and Dwight's podcast for the love of
Yes.
creators,
Yes.
and that's how we got connected was through them. Love those cats.
They're
They
amazing.
they are amazing. They do amazing things. They have huge hearts.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that they talk about extensively is how community plays into a creative's life.
Hmm.
As you're about to step into this new phase of, of life and transitioning to New York and having somewhat of a community there already, can you just expound a little bit more for the dance community how
Hmm.
much that environment helps support an individual?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of things I could say. I mean, it's all about who you know. That's like the classic thing that people say. But it's true. I mean, that comes not only, of course, it also depends on your abilities, but to a certain extent, the network that you find is the network that holds you, it's the network that supports you, it's the network that carries you along. Even if it's not for a job, it's just for like wellness. Like I have so
Yeah.
many friends that I've just reconnected with because we still share this common love of dance. I've reconnected with people that I went to high school with and haven't spoken to in 10 years, and we're now going to be friends again because I'm moving. And so I guess all that to say, I feel like I have found so much value in the community, not only for, you know, dancing and for finding a space to belong to, but just to have friends and to have a place to go to. Like I joined a book club for dancers in New York, and that's going to be fun. So it's just a matter of not feeling alone, a matter of feeling like you can find a place. I think that's what I'm nervous and excited and I'm trying to acknowledge that there's no way to really be ready. You just do it. But I
Yeah.
just want to find a space for myself. I want to make a space for myself where I'm not alone, where I feel supported. I feel like I can give support back. It has to be a symbiotic relationship. You know, like you're in it because of people and you give back to people. Um, I think, but it's everything. I'm kind of just like spewing words, but it just feels so important to not burn bridges. You know, like I feel like the art world, the dance world is so small and we can all be together. And I think that it's always saved me. It has always saved me. The people have always saved me. And that is true for going to college and meeting Alexander. Like he didn't save me per se, but meeting him and meeting my friends, that saved me from thinking I didn't belong in college. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And being home and then making friends with the company girls and working at the studio that I'm at and making friends with the teachers, that saved me from thinking I shouldn't have come back to Dallas. So it's always who you're with, no matter what you're doing. It's always about who do you belong to, who makes you feel like you belong, who feels like they're enhancing your life, adding color to what was once monotonous. Yeah, I think that that's what life is all about. And I think that that became so much clearer to me during the pandemic when we weren't allowed to have
Yeah.
in-person community. All of the community was online, which was still beneficial. Of course, a FaceTime is more meaningful than nothing.
Right.
Um, but it made me so conscious of how I think it was at a graduation ceremony. Someone looked at me and they were like, it wasn't my graduation, but whatever. They were like, what is most important to you in your life? Like, if you could like narrow it down, what is the most important thing in your life? And I was like, the people that I'm around. Because without question, my life would be nothing without my family, friends, and loved ones. Nothing. Being alone is not what artists are meant for. It's not what
Right.
people are meant for. We're not meant to do this life alone. I'll say it time and time again. Even if at one point I did feel like I had to do life alone, not alone, alone, but we have to count on each other, even if it's impermanent. We have to be able to participate in something. We have to be able to give back, to receive, to feel alive, I think. And I think that's what life is for, is to connect with the other people that are here at this time, because that even in and of itself is a miracle and the craziest coincidence of all, that I just happened to be alive at the same time as Alexander, that I just happened to be alive at the same time as Dwight and Maddox, that I just happened to be alive at the same time as you. Like we all, like nobody's guaranteed to be on the planet at the same time as anybody else.
Yeah.
Um, So, yeah, all that to say, I think community is integral in not only artistic development, but also just in like human development. And it opens doors, like going to Booker T, seeing all of the different, so much diversity in every aspect of life, so much diversity, being able to, have perspective opened up for me to learn new things. Everybody brings something to the table, and because of that, everyone is better for it. It's everything. So I just think that in everything in life is better with community, with collaboration, with being open to differences, because differences end up only adding. Rarely do differences subtract. Um, well, I guess that's not completely true, but you know what I mean. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, I don't know. I just think it's going to be huge for me, and I think for anybody who has gone and done something new or different or scary could probably say the same, that it's the
right.
people that make the difference. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that was a beautiful summation. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
One of the things that I always try to remind the audience at the end of a conversation is to always listen to your heart, but also be kind to your mind.
Hmm.